So can you tell me a little bit about the history of Pbar Ranch? And I mean, really tell me your story. I want people to see the face behind their food here. So take your time and tell me about you who's making it all happen and the experience that you've gone through along the journey and your favorite parts.
Sure. So, but way back, so I'm originally from Arizona, born and raised there, and have always been, involved with horses and agriculture and all of that, and went to Colorado State University where I studied ag business and equine science. And then from there, married a rancher, and that's been life ever since. And so over those years, managing different ranches and being really invested in agriculture and land, and I just became very passionate about all aspects of that, being really good stewards of the land and the livestock. And we always had the privilege of eating really good meat because we were raising it. And it wasn't until 2015, that's the year I started Cowgirl Meat Company. And what spurred that on was we had our first kid at that time, and I became even more passionate about what are we feeding our family. And knowing that we had really good beef, I wanted more protein. I wanted our own pork. I wanted our own chicken at that time. So I decided, well, I'm just going to raise that. And so I researched a little bit, like, okay, how do I raise a pig? And realized raising one pig isn't great. So why not raise 10 if you're going to do one? And so I did. I just went and got pigs, and then I was like, well, we can't eat 10 pigs. And so I just asked family and friends, and I had so much response. So I was like, maybe I should sell this for real, and actually make this a business. And that's literally how Cowgirl Meat Co started. I, got my label and made it a legitimate business after seeing that there's so many people out there, and especially other moms like me and families that want to know where their meat comes from and want to feed their families really well. And so I wanted to share that because I'm passionate about that for my family. And so why not share that with others and give others the opportunity that don't ranch like we do and can't raise the animals, but still have access to really quality meat. And so that was my motivation for starting Cowgirl Meat Co. And like I said, that was, I guess, going on 6 years now. And it's grown and changed and morphed and all of that, but our foundational proteins are still beef and pork. And we are very, very intentional how we raise it and where we go to process it, and just making sure it's the best quality, because like I said, if we're not going to feed our family, I'm not going to sell that for other people. So that's kind of how Cowgirl Meat Co. came to be in a nutshell.
That's an amazing story. And I think that's a recurring theme I hear, is that people started with just a couple animals to feed, their own. They wanted to eat quality meat, and it grew into something that they'd never imagined. And that's so cool.
Yeah.
So what makes you passionate about what you're doing? I mean, obviously giving people nutritious food that's going to supply their families with something that's not going to harm them or the planet. What drives you?
Yeah, that's a huge part of it. So much of what drives me too is just, I guess, what I'm passionate about in general. And it's so much the lifestyle of ranching and raising animals, and that's how we live our life. It's not just our job and our livelihood, but it truly is our life. We live on the ranch 24/7. We're raising animals, and our kids are alongside. It's hard work. It's being outside, and that's what I love to do. And so to have a byproduct that's also, like you said, really good for the land and people that eat it, and nutritious and quality and full of preservatives, I want to share that. Like, that's just really important. And I feel like the more and more people that can have access to that, and the healthier people can be, and how we can just change the trajectory of what we're putting into our bodies, which overall I feel like there's gaps there majorly, especially as time goes on. I want to be a part of that.
So how did the kids like growing up on the ranch? That sounds like a good time.
They absolutely love it. So we have 2 kids at this point. They are 4 and 6. So they're so young, but I tell you what, they will outwork a lot of adults just because that's what they've done. They love it. They have their horses. They love taking care of the animals. They love the chores. It's a pretty wholesome life for them. So they enjoy it just as much as we do.
So you guys are one of our American grass-fed certified producers, and that's obviously why you're here. But what should people know when they're going to buy an AGA certified product? What makes that special?
Yeah, so we were thrilled to get that certification and be plugged in with AGA because, like I said, we're at the ranch here. We're just very intentional about the land, and I think that's what I really preach about AGAs, because they're not just looking at, okay, what went into this animal, but what's going into the land and what's not going into the land and these animals. That's important. And so since we were already so in line with that, as far as, are we putting fertilizers? No. Are we putting a bunch of chemicals? Are we putting all these grain byproducts, which isn't all of itself bad. I'm not saying that at all. But we have found ways where we didn't have to do that. And so it's just, I love having the AGA certification now, because to me, it just feels like it's saying this is such a pure form of meat. I mean, this is our animal, and we literally put grass into this, what's coming off the land naturally. It's like, it's very holistic to me. And I think that's, if we can eat meat in the most pure form, once again, like I think that's the best way. I think that's how we were created to eat that kind of meat from the beginning. So I just am glad AGA aligns with that so well and supports practices that we're doing here.
Is this something you feel that other producers should be looking into?
Yeah, I would say if they have the opportunity, absolutely. I think it's just, I would say the more people that can grow and the more awareness that we can have around grass-fed or antibiotic-free, any of that stuff, when people can do their part and be part of a bigger collective towards the same mission, I think that's how momentum is, and education happens and awareness happens, which creates change.
So how can we get our hands on your beef or your pork?
Yeah, so the best way we literally ship it right from the ranch here to consumer, unless you're local. We're outside of Big Timber, Montana. We'll deliver it to you within 100 miles. Otherwise, we'll ship it in the continental US. So we've had so much demand. Our model a lot of times is get a pre-order in because we're not factory, like we can't produce on the major scale. So we have what we have and what the land supports. And so a lot of people will just do pre-orders, and then we'll ship it directly to our customers in the continental US. So the best place to do it is just cowgirlmeatco.com.
So how many animals do you guys have?
We have a couple hundred head of cattle right now that go into our beef system. And then we have 10 to 15 head of pigs in different groups. We call them batches that kind of run together, all in different stages of, some are small and just getting started, others are to finishing. So we run them in pretty small batches throughout the year.
That's awesome that you're able to sell out a couple hundred cattle though. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah. So I want to thank you for being a good steward, and I told you it would be painless, so that's all today. And
Awesome.
Thank you for providing nutritious food to sustain us all and the planet at the same time. It's really great.
Well, thank you. It's our pleasure.